We will look at a passage from an official practice test that has 10 questions following it. Before we begin, let's go through some of the reading guidelines. In order to increase your reading speed, you need to understand that your mind is faster than your speaking ability. This means that if you tend to pronounce words as you read, then that slows you down significantly. The solution is to read with your eyes and read forward and trust that your mind is capturing the information, even if you cannot pronounce everything at the same speed. To help you develop a proper reading speed so you have enough time to do the questions on each passage, we will offer you a tracker. Feel free to fall behind or go ahead of the tracker. Tracker is more of a guideline. The most important thing is for you to stay 100% focused and try not to reread. Since we will be mapping our text so we can return to it to answer the questions following the passages, we need to focus on sizing up the information as we read. The most logical spot for that is end of each paragraph. Return briefly, scan within a few seconds, and try to kind of mark it for yourself, the structure. And finally, let's discuss the details. Some of the passages will be overloaded with details, and at times you may struggle retaining everything, and that's okay. You should get a chance to return, and assuming we have a proper map, we should be able to do it very efficiently. Having said that, stay focused and still collect as much information as you can. But if you feel at some point that you're being overloaded with details, just know that there is that other option and you will be fine. Now let's proceed to the passage. Let's take a few seconds to size up the first paragraph. There is a telling part that has the words of "I felt my occupation irksome." Then there is a lot of text that we can summarize by one word, venting, because that's exactly what's happening in this part. And there is that particular line about the antipathy which had sprung up between myself and my employer. So these are very high level markings that we'll take to move forward into the second paragraph. We reached the end of the second paragraph, so let's size it up. The name Edward Crimsworth comes up as the name of the adversary of the main character, the one who narrates the story. Then we can see that there is description of different reasons why Edward Crimsworth has those feelings. And those feelings are described in the words of annoyedom, his dislike, and envy also comes up. At the same time, toward the end, there is also a line about how the character was guarded. So let's make a mental note of all these things. This is the end of the third and final paragraph. I don't really have any significant markings for it, but if you notice something that you feel may be important, feel free to do so. Let's take a look at the first question. Which choice best summarizes the passage? The keyword here is passage, and what we're looking for is the most precise answer to this question. So any of the answers that does not address the passage in general, but maybe a certain paragraph or a passing point, will not satisfy our requirements for precision. So let's take a look. Answer choice A. A character describes his dislike for his new job and considers the reasons why. In this case, what we're seeing is the keywords of dislike for his new job, and we clearly know that there is some of that in the passage. So far, this answer looks okay. Nothing that jumps at us, but let's continue. Answer choice B. Two characters employed in the same office become increasingly competitive. So this answer also looks probable. Let's take note of the words increasingly competitive, which in general maybe describe their interaction, but also employed in the same office, which is a very attractive option, but we have a reservation in the wording of it, because in this case, it's pretty clear that one of them is the owner and the other one is the employee. So this wording sort of implies that they are on an equal footing. Additionally, the word competitive implies that two people are trying to beat each other at something. And while there is some interaction of this nature, it may not exactly describe it, because within that office, one has way more power and the other one is more in a submissive position. So maybe this word is also somewhat questionable. Let's evaluate answer choice C. A young man regrets privately a choice that he defends publicly. So the first part of this answer choice is very probable. There is a young man who seems to regret privately a certain choice. But the problem here is with the wording that he defends it publicly. There is little of public type of statements or defense that is clear in this passage. All of this passage describes private feelings, and there is no public component to it. So we can very comfortably eliminate answer choice C. Answer choice D, a new employee experiences optimism, then frustration, and final despair. The keyword here is optimism, because in a text, in the very first paragraph, the narrator states that he expected it to be a quiet, boring type of work, and he was ready for it. So the word optimism is off base, and this word basically makes this answer choice unacceptable for us. Now let's go back to the two options that seem to be reasonable, the first and the second. Looking at the first one, we don't really see anything in particular wrong with it. Answer choice B is slightly questionable on a couple of dimensions. So if we didn't have anything better, we could be prompted to look at it as a potential answer. But in this case, let's go with the answer choice A and eliminate answer choice B on the grounds of less precision. Let's proceed to question 2. The main purpose of the opening sentence of the passage is to. So something that we're working with is the opening sentence. So let's refer back to it. No man likes to acknowledge that he has made a mistake in the choice of his profession, and every man worthy of the name will row long against wind and tide before he allows himself to cry out, I'm baffled, and submits to be floated passively back to land. Answer choice A, establish the narrator's perspective on a controversy. This one is, the keywords are perspective on a controversy, and at this point it's a bit questionable since controversy is a complicated word, and we may need to do further thinking about whether this is an appropriate one. So for now, let's move on to answer choice B. Provide context useful in understanding the narrator's emotional state. So keywords here are the context and narrator's emotional state. So far, nothing is obviously wrong with this wording. Let's go to answer choice C. Offer a symbolic representation of Edward Crimsworth's plight. Edward Crimsworth is not the person who stated this first sentence. It's about narrator. And while Edward's Crimsworth's name appears in the passage, he is actually the adversary, the one causing these feelings. So clearly we're being kind of tricked here with this name. And let's comfortably eliminate answer choice C. Answer choice D contrasts the narrator's good intentions with his malicious conduct. So we can pretty easily spot the words that raise a red flag, malicious conduct. Our passage does not really indicate that our narrator did something malicious in nature. It was mostly about internal feelings and certain frustration, but no malicious conduct takes place, so we can comfortably eliminate this answer choice. Let's return to the two that we didn't eliminate. The first one states that the narrator is trying to establish a perspective on a controversy, and we had a bit of an issue with the word controversy because while it's not absolutely wrong, maybe somebody can see some of the features of a controversy here, depending on how you define this word, which is rather vague. But the second answer choice with the words of context and emotional state fits much better this sentence because we can see lines like I'm baffled, which clearly describes the emotional state. And it is a context for what is to follow, which is the rest of the passage. So let's stick with the answer choice B. Question 3. During the course of the first paragraph, the narrator's focus shifts from. So in this case, the part in question is the first paragraph. And if we are very comfortable with our comprehension, we can just go through the answer choices. However, if we feel that it wouldn't hurt for us to go back to the first paragraph, let's do so before covering and looking at the answer choices. Let's go back to the question and answer choices. During the course of the first paragraph, the narrator's focus shifts from answer choice A, recollection of past confidence, to acknowledgement of present self-doubt. So in this case, the keywords are past confidence and self-doubt. While this is somewhat imprecise, there is nothing obviously jumping at us, because it does seem like there was a bit of a confidence potentially that the narrator felt that he can handle it by just accepting the grunt nature of this work. And self-doubt, one may conclude that there are some of the questions being asked. So potentially answer choice A is something we're not going to cross off right now. And if we don't have anything better, we may take a risk and go with this one. Answer choice B, reflection on his expectations of life as a tradesman to his desire for another job. Keywords are expectations of life, and very little in this passage is about life. It's about a particular employment situation. And desire for another job, there was no really discussion about it. We can assume that there is a desire for another job, but it wasn't, this is not how the first paragraph developed. So in this case, let's eliminate answer choice B. Answer choice C, generalization about job dissatisfaction to the specifics of his own situation. And nothing particularly wrong with this one, because there is something about job dissatisfaction, that first line, about how one might feel that way. And then, of course, the paragraph develops into the specifics of the situation. So this is the best answer so far. And finally, evaluation of factors making him unhappy to identification of alternatives. So the first paragraph doesn't really go into any sort of identification of alternatives. And on these grounds, we'll eliminate answer choice D. We can look at answer choice A and C, and we can see that answer choice C is the most precise evaluation of how the first paragraph was structured. Question 4, the references to shade and darkness at the end of the first paragraph mainly have which effect? So let's refer back to text. But this was not all. The antipathy which had sprung up between myself and my employer, striking deeper root and spreading denser shade daily, excluded me from every glimpse of the sunshine of life. And I began to feel like a plant growing in humid darkness out of the slimy walls of a well. Answer choice A, they evoke the narrator's sense of dismay. So the keyword is dismay, and dismay is a description of some sort of distress. So in our case, this word shade and darkness does seem to be very close indication of the distress that the narrator felt. Answer choice B, they reflect the narrator's sinister thoughts. So in this case, it seems like it's more in the feelings department than in the thoughts department. So let's eliminate this answer choice. They capture the narrator's fear of confinement. So this is very literal interpretation of words darkness, shade, and so on. So that's definitely not what's going on, because these words are more used figuratively here. So eliminate answer choice C. And finally, answer choice D, they reveal the narrator's longing for rest. So that's quite a bit of a jump. So yeah, if somebody is frustrated and distressed, maybe rest is one of the things one may want, but that's not what the text describes. So it is a jump in logic, it's imprecise, it makes assumptions. Let's go back and stick with the answer choice A. The passage indicates that Edward Crimsworth's behavior was mainly caused by his. So here, the question 5 wants us to describe what was the cause of the behavior of Edward Crimsworth toward the narrator. So let's refer back to our map, and we more or less know where to find it. My southern accent annoyed him. The degree of education evinced in my language irritated him. My punctuality, industry, and accuracy fixed his dislike and gave it the high flavor and poignant relish of envy. He feared that I too should one day make a successful tradesman. Answer choice A, impatience with the narrator's high spirits. So this is quite a bit of a stretch. So let's eliminate this one. Answer choice B, scorn of the narrator's humble background. So in this case, it is not something we can absolutely eliminate, since there is some reference to Southern accent, which we're not sure if this is in the mind of Edward Crimsworth is some sort of a reference to humble background, although there is something that claims that the narrator had better education. So we have quite a few questions here. So let's not absolutely eliminate it, but leave it for now. Answer choice C, indignation at the narrator's rash actions. So there is little reference to the rash actions by the narrator. And so in this case, answer choice C does not seem like a good answer. Let's eliminate it. And answer choice D, jealousy of the narrator's apparent superiority. So this answer choice has the word jealousy at the core, and narrator's apparent superiority. So answer choices B and D are the ones we need to analyze here. While it's hard to settle this whole humble background versus superiority part, we can see reference in the text to envy. So answer choice D will be our choice. The passage indicates that when the narrator began working for Edward Crimsworth, he viewed Crimsworth as a harmless rival, sympathetic ally, perceptive judge, demanding mentor. So this question is probably the hardest in the passage, because it's not very obvious what the feelings of the narrator were, because the passage is mostly about how narrator felt already trapped in his situation. So if we evaluate the answers, we may have quite a few questions. So going back to text is where we'll find the answer. And surprisingly, it is in the last third paragraph, where the author, in the middle of general discussion, sneaked in this sentence: I had long ceased to regard Mr. Crimsworth as my brother. And so in this case, since Mr. Crimsworth was regarded as a brother, let's find whatever is kind of closest to that. Harmless rival. Well, brother is not really a rival, so let's eliminate answer choice A. Sympathetic ally. Well, brother, maybe. Answer choice C, perceptive judge. So that's not what it is. And demanding mentor. While brother can be a mentor, that's still a jump in logic. It's not very specific. What we can assume about brother is that a brother is an ally for you. So let's pick the answer choice B. But once again, this is a difficult one. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? So here we get a bit of a help, since the question was pretty tricky. If we were able to answer it, then we can go straight and find our correct answer, which is answer choice D. But let's evaluate answer choice assuming that we have some doubts and we weren't able to find that place. So answer choice A, the antipathy which had sprung up between myself and my employer striking deeper root and spreading denser shade daily excluded me from every glimpse of the sunshine of life. So this is not helping us to answer the previous question. Answer choice B, my Southern accent annoyed him. The degree of education evinced in my language irritated him. So this doesn't help us either. Let's eliminate answer choice B. Choice C, day by day did his malice watch my tact, hoping it would sleep and prepare to steal snake-like on its slumber. So this doesn't help us answer the question about how the narrator felt about Crimsworth at the beginning. Answer choice D, I had long ceased to regard Mr. Crimsworth as my brother. And clearly, as you already know, this is the correct answer. Question 8, at the end of the second paragraph, the comparisons of abstract qualities of a lynx and a snake mainly have the effect of. So let's refer to that part in the text, and our mapping will help to find this quite comfortably. I was guarded by three faculties: caution, tact, observation, and prowling and prying, as was Edward's malignity. It could never baffle the lynx eyes of these, my natural sentinels. Day by day did his malice watch my tact, hoping it would sleep and prepared to steal snake-like on its slumber, but tact, if it be genuine, never sleeps. As we can see, reference in question is about caution, tact, and observation. So this is about how the narrator felt when dealing with Mr. Crimsworth. So answer choice A, contrasting two hypothetical courses of action, is not exactly hitting it. Conveying the ferocity of a resolution clearly is wrong, because it's not about the resolution that the narrator had. It's more about caution. Answer choice C, suggesting the likelihood of an altercation. So it's a jump a bit in logic, because there was no reference about altercation. It's more about preservation and caution. And illustrating the nature of an adversarial relationship is the best answer in our case. Question 9, the passage indicates that after a long day of work, the narrator sometimes found his living quarters to be. So we mapped the text, and we probably know that the whole passage at the end is about the narrator returning home. So let's go back to it. As I approached my lodgings, I turned from a general view of my affairs to the particular speculation as to whether my fire would be out. Looking towards the window of my sitting room, I saw no cheering red gleam. Evaluating our answer choices, treacherous is not appropriate, because treacherous means dangerous. Dreary is exactly the meaning, which is very close to boring and not very encouraging, so we like it. Answer choice C, predictable. Well, it's hard to know if it was predictable or not, and probably not, because the narrator was still looking at it, looking towards the window, and so that means there was some sense of unpredictability. And answer choice D, intolerable. Well, one can make an assumption, but we're taking it a step further. And intolerable, while it may be in this case when the narrator describes it as no cheering red gleam, dreary is the best word that helps us answer this question. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? And since the previous question wasn't that hard and it wasn't very difficult to pinpoint the part of the text, we should be able to go straight to answer choice D and save some valuable time.